back to Nearly Presents Off the Reel. This is an Off the Reel review. We are talking about the movie Heal. But first of all, as you can see, I am back. I'm in the cave. The pod studio is back alive. Tail end of last year, I did lose a little bit of the passion for reviewing movies due to the fact that my pod studio or my podcast studio or my little studio that I record in had taken on a lot of water damage, and it just was an absolute nightmare mess. We stripped it back, ripped it down, got a new one, built it up, done all this, and it looks fantastic. So now I am back and I've got the love for doing all of this again. But that is not what you care about. What you care about is the review of the movie Heal. And as always, you can go over to nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British website, for all of your news, reviews and exclusive interviews, where we like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, with a special keen interest on the lower end of the scale. That's where my heart lives and it's where my heart lies. So this is why I talk about these movies. And I'm going to do what I always do, which is to talk about the plot of this movie. Then I'll get into the cast and crew of this movie. Then I'll get into the mixed bag of what I did and didn't like about this movie. Then I'll get into my final Nerdly Percent Off the Reel review rating. Again, that is just my rating, not the rating of Nerdly on the whole. So now let's jump into the plot of the movie. And according to IMDb, a 19-year-old criminal, Tommy, is kidnapped and forced into a rehabilitation process by a dysfunctional couple, Chris and Kathryn, who try to make him a good boy. Tommy must find a way to escape. That is essentially what this movie is about. It's not breaking the mold. It's not reinventing the wheel. It is one of these movies where somebody is kidnapped, kept in a cellar, and torture ensues. But not the kind of torture you're maybe expecting. Let me tell you a little bit more about what the movie's actually about. We do meet Tommy right up at the start of the movie, and he is a 2026 Gen Z asshole. And he's going out, he's getting pissed, he's doing drugs, he's sleeping with girls, he's starting fights with bouncers. He just every heinous, horrible thing that you can imagine you could do on a night out, Tommy somehow seems to be able to do it. He is the life and soul of every party, and he's just an absolute ass. On the night that we meet him, we get like a Prodigy music video, Smack My Bitch Up style of him just going out and doing all this ill shit. At the end of the night, he finds himself by himself, just walking down a road, stotting around because he's absolutely pissed. People come up behind him, shadows come up behind him, and we assume he's been knocked out. Something nefarious has now happened to Tommy. We cut to the next day or a few days later, and we meet Chris. Chris, played by Stephen Graham, and Chris is interviewing this young girl. I think she's like Russian in the movie, and he's interviewing her, and he's like, we need you to come and clean our house, do these things, but there are other things that you will be expected to do. Are you okay with that? We find out that he's done a bit of a background check on Rena, and, you know, there's some things a little bit untoward about what she's doing, so he's kind of got her over a barrel, and she's kind of like, well, I'm okay coming and doing stuff, but if it isn't what I want to do, then I reserve the right to leave. Absolutely fine, he says. She then turns up at this house, big stately manor, massive driveway going down, just the kind of place you would love to live in, unless you're Tommy, as we're about to find out. Let's go for a tour of the house. I'll introduce you to everyone. They go upstairs, they meet Kathryn, who is Chris's wife. She's a little bit downtrodden. There's something going on there, but we're not going to really know about that until we know about it. She meets his young son, Jonathan, who's very kind of like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, excited to meet someone new within the house. He takes Rena down to the cellar, and when the lights go on in the cellar, Tommy's there, the young boy from the start of the movie. He's now got a chain around his neck, like a dog collar around his neck, and a massive chain going up to the roof. And Rena instantly runs out. She's like, what is going on? Chris tells her, it's not what you think. We are helping Tommy. We're doing this for Tommy. It's for his own good. He kind of talks her around because, again, he's done a background check on her and she can't really afford to not take the job. So she does end up staying and coming back every couple of days. But that is now going to be the movie. We're now in the stately home. Tommy's down in the basement, chained up with a dog collar around him. And we're going to find out that what Chris is doing is trying to save him. Tommy's not up for it to start off with. He's like, what is happening here? And Chris, slowly but surely, is psychologically trying to break him down, playing like soothing bird music 24/7, making him watch these safety videos that Chris himself is the actor of. That made me smile. I loved seeing those kind of things. Stephen Graham needs to do them for everyone. Those would be amazing. But also what he's doing is showing Tommy videos of what Tommy has been up to, things from like Instagram and TikTok, of him picking on people, of him bullying people, fighting people, and showing him that actually your life outside of here is just horrendous. You're just a horrible, horrible scumbag, and we're going to train you to be a good boy. Now, the movie was originally called The Good Boy, but I believe it was changed due to the fact that, well, there was that film that came out, that horror film that came out called Good Boy, about the dog. It was told from a dog's perspective. I'll be honest with you, I got like 15 minutes into that gimmick and I was like, I'm done. So yeah, that's the movie. I don't really want to get too much more into the plot because then I'll just be getting into spoilers, but it is essentially Tommy being rehabilitated, kind of starting to like not enjoy being with the family, but he is learning the error of his ways and realizing that actually there may be a place for him. But at the same time, he wants to get out of here because he wants to return to his old life. Let's talk about the cast. Anson Boon as Tommy. We'll start right up top with Anson Boon as Tommy. He's brilliant. He's really, really good. At no point did I ever feel like I knew what he was actually thinking. Like, he was always, the cogs were always turning. He was always looking around. And to me, that was like a sign of he's looking around because he wants to see how he's going to get out of here. At the early stages of the movie, he's very, very angry. But then when he starts sort of softening up, genuinely loved Anson Boon. But I really like him in Mobland as Eddie Harrigan. He's kind of playing a Tommy kind of role in that show too, but he's really good in that. And then the other movie, Crawl, about the crocodiles. And the great thing about this movie is he's logging heads with someone like Stephen Graham and absolutely holding his own. Logging heads with Andrea Riseborough and absolutely holding his own. And then let's get into Stephen Graham, who's just sensational. He's always sensational. Have you ever seen a bad Stephen Graham performance? We have seen bad movies that Stephen Graham is in, but he's always the best part of it. Like, I love Stephen Graham. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat that. I think he's one of the finest actors, if not the finest actor that we have in the UK today. He's doing a lot without doing anything, and that's what's just so good about him. The quiet moments when you're wondering, what is he thinking? What is he about to do to this kid? What maniacal, menacing presence is he having within this movie? But at the same time, he just looks like a bit of a geography teacher. He comes across as a bit of a geography teacher that couldn't hold his own, but he absolutely can. Andrea Riseborough, we know her from Everything Ever. She's just such a talent. And in this film, again, she doesn't have a lot to do. She's not running and gunning. She's not giving massive monologues. She's very downplayed in this role, very downtrodden in this role, but she's exactly what you need. And when it comes to feeling that powerful presence within this family, within this house, and within this story, she is absolutely that. And yeah, I'm all about Andrea Riseborough's performance in this movie. When her and Anson Boon have those couple of scenes where they're actually sitting together and just, you know, vibing with each other and just sort of feeling each other out, they are sensational together. The young boy that plays Jonathan, Kit Rakusen, I believe it is. I may have messed that up, but he is also just really, really cool. Some child actors have a tendency to over-egg the pudding and give you too much and give away too much. This kid held it back all the way. I never really knew what was going on with his character, and that's what I like about his character, but also this movie. It throws up way more questions than answers, and you're always going to be thinking for the next couple of days after this movie, what was actually going on? What was that kid actually part of the family biologically, or was he another kid that they brought in and rehabilitated in their way? Like, what is going on with that character? And before I move into what I did and didn't like, I just want to talk about the director, Jan Komasa. I maybe butchered that name. I don't know if I have. This isn't a director I'm fully aware of. I can't think of anything that I've seen before that he's done. I maybe have seen something and just not noticed it was his. But for me, this is a tight movie. He has an absolutely tight script, an amazing view of what he needs and what he doesn't need. Some of the camera angles in here, like they're messing with some really cool stuff. I just like the idea and the concept of this overall, because when you think it's a man being trapped in a basement and there's going to be some like torture scenes and whatnot, there is torture scenes, but it's all psychological. It becomes this whole other movie where I'm questioning human existence, people's existence out in the world. Whose side am I on in this movie? Am I feeling Tommy's side? Am I feeling sorry for him and I hate the family? Or do I actually feel the family side and I hate Tommy? Like, at different points in this movie, both things can be true at different points in this movie. Things I didn't like. I'm going to start with a little bit of a negative, and that is the character of Rena. Like, I have no real problem with the character of Rena. I just also don't really know why she's in the movie. I feel like you could lose that character and you don't really lose anything. There is a sense of when things really come to a head with her character and her family like turn up to sort of take her away and all that. It's sort of like, I could do these things to make my life better, but essentially like outside of here, my life is still shit. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to say to Tommy. They're trying to show him that, okay, he's in this situation, but on the outside, things are still going along and things are still terrible. I don't think you need that character. I don't think you need that to be told to Tommy. I think he would slowly get there and begin to understand. And he was slowly getting there anyway before Rena kind of becomes part of the family and starts living at the house. So yeah, it's not a character that I feel... She's not a terrible character, and the actress is very good. I just didn't really understand why we needed her there. She didn't bring much else to proceedings, if you know what I mean. Without that character, am I losing much? I don't know. Other than that, everything else is positive. I think the house is wonderful. The stately manor that they live in is a really, really cool set. And the long driveway down to the house is superb. And it gives you that sense of like the long journey just to getting to that logical closure point of where you're about to be changed, transformed, rehabilitated, all of that. I really liked that. It was very like, it was telling. What they were telling us was right there in our face from the very start. The color grading in the basement and the way it's lit, the way it's shot is just sensational. It gives you that claustrophobic feeling, that dark, like there's greens and blue tinges and a little bit of brown. Maybe I'm just thinking that because it was dirty. But like the way they shot it, I actually felt like, okay, I'm down here with the kid. But then when Stephen Graham like extends the dog collar, the leash, when he extends that so that he can get to the door but also use the toilet, and it gives them that little bit of freedom, it lightens up a little bit. There's more light in the room all of a sudden because there's light at the end of the tunnel and Tommy is getting better per se and he's feeling a little bit rehabilitated. I love the way they did that. But then when we get out into the house and they build this rig on the ceiling, like these rails, and they're kind of like, right, you can come into the house, but you have to follow these rails, and you're not going to be able to like do anything that's going to like hurt anyone or anything like that. Yes, you have freedom, but it's restricted freedom. You know, it's not freedom without consequence, if you know what I mean. So I like that as well. That's a really cool idea. Probably one of the cooler ideas of the movie, because it's like, as long as you keep getting better and you stay on the right track, you will get more of what you want, which is just an allegory for life in general. Like I say, it's a psychological thriller, drama, making you think piece. The ending, without any spoilers, I'm not going to give spoilers, but I just think the ending of this movie, at one point during the movie, I was like, I kind of thought this is where we were going to go. This is the logical end point to the movie. But the way we get there, so nailed on and so perfect, and how they film it and how we bring things back around is just excellent. Again, Jan Komasa as a director, you just... so many little breadcrumbs in this movie that could very easily not be seen. And I feel like I got a lot of them. I probably didn't get everything. There would have been more that I'm completely like out of the loop on. But there were certain things that I picked up on and I just thought, wow, this is what we're doing and I love it. So Heel, I'm going to get into my nerdly reviews rating now. And it's a 5 out of 5, simple as. I'm not going to draw it out. I think this movie says a lot without saying it. I think this movie does a lot without doing it. It doesn't pander to its audience. It actually respects your intelligence and respects the fact that you yourself will get there. It does say on all these different forums and all the different like streaming sites and everything like that this is a horror movie. I wouldn't say it's a horror movie, but that doesn't diminish the fact that I enjoyed it. As such, it's a psychological horror. It plays with your mind. Like I say, a few days later, you will still be thinking about it. It has many questions that they don't really answer. Like, they bring up this character called Charlie, and Charlie becomes like this kid that may or maybe didn't live in this house before. Was he another Tommy, or was he an actual biological child of Chris and Kathryn? You're not really too sure. They don't really want to answer that. They want you to figure that out. But at some points, I kind of felt like maybe I'm Charlie. Maybe the audience is Charlie. Maybe that's what's going on. But I think that's the beauty of this film, is you can take so many different things away from it, so many questions left unanswered. Aside from my only real negative of the character of Rena, this movie just ticks every single one of my boxes in so many different ways. And that's why I gave it 5 out of 5. But my name is Kevin Halden. This has been Nerdly Presents Off the Reel. It was an off-the-reel review of the movie Heel, formerly known as The Good Boy. Please do check it out on all your streaming sites. Apparently it does have limited UK and Ireland theatre release. I'm assuming America as well and all those other good places. So if you get a chance to see it at the cinema, please do. If you think that I'm completely wrong about this movie and you want to hit me in the comments down below and give me some shit for it, please do. That is where the conversation continues. But at the moment, I'm just really, really glad that I got a chance to see this movie. I'm really glad it was as good as it did, and it made me think as much as I did. It just really played on my mind in a way that when I put it on and pressed play, I wasn't expecting. And that to me is a job well done. So thank you so much, Jan Komasa, and your entire cast, your entire crew, everybody that came together to make this movie. You've made a wonderful, wonderful piece here that I think is going to be somewhat of a classic. I don't think people are going to discover it straight away, but when they do discover it, it'll make its way. And yeah, just wonderful. Yeah, Heel, cracking movie. And remember, guys, if I don't see you in the week, I'll see you in the cinema.